This is Pokemon Infinite Fusion, the fan game with over 250,000 different Pokemon combinations, and we're here today to see if we can beat a hardcore Nuzlocke using only dinosaurs. That means if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead. The level cap is the next leader's ace. No active items can be used in battle, and we play the games on set mode. If you like the video, the sound of my voice, and this isn't your first time here, you should definitely hit that subscribe button. And if it isn't your first time here and you think you're subscribed, double check. Over 90% of you aren't subscribed, so it'd be cool if you were. Through extensive scientific research, I have deduced that 9 of Pokemon Infinite Fusion species have dino DNA. So we're going to be starting with all 9 of those Pokemon at the beginning of the game. Once they've been given a fusion partner, they cannot be unfused. In our goal to become the best, like no one ever was. So with that, let's hop into the wonderful world of Kanto. See you there. Starting things off in Professor Oak's lab, for our dino run, I decided to go with the Hoenn starters, because out of all of these dino dudes, Trico is definitely my favorite, so we're going to pick it up as our starter Pokemon. Which I'm pretty sure means that Rando is going to be rocking a Torchic Mudkip fusion for the entirety of this run, which is pretty awesome. Mudchip's going to come in and we're going to be sending in Trico. And this is going to go about as well as you would expect it to, considering that it has access to Ember. We're going to get it down to about 50%, and it decides to go for a water gun for some reason, and we can go ahead and get off another hit as it continues to go for water guns, and maybe it's programmed to lose, as it decides to go for a growl, and despite the odds, we somehow beat this thing. Now let's see what friends we can make before we face off against Brock. Over on Route 1, we're going to grab ourselves a Shinx. On 2, we're going to grab a Litwick. On 22, a Pidgey. In the Secret Garden, a Bulbasaur. In Viridian Forest, a Hapney. And our Pukimuke has been randomized into a Sunflora. And for our first official fusion partner, we're going to have Trico and Litwick do their thing to become Litgo. And the best thing about this Pokemon, it gets Flash Fire, which is going to give it an extra immunity. And for our second friend, we are going to take Chikorita and Chansey and smush them together into this guy. Why is it so big? And now it's time for us to take on Brock and his rock hard boys. Geochi comes in first, and we're going to send in Littlefoot. I'm going to go for a Razor Leaf on the first turn, doing about a third as it goes for a Sand Attack. And we connect again, getting it down into the red as it goes for another Sand Attack, but fortunately we break through for the KO. When Dignix comes in, it's going to go for a Rock Tomb, lowering our speed, and unfortunately we miss. So we're going to swap out Littlefoot and send in Delta instead as he goes for a Dig. It then hits us with a Dig, not doing all that much as I decide to go for a Minimize. After that, it's going to go for another Dig, and then connects on the following turn, and we can go for an Absorb, getting him down to a Sturdy, healing all the way back up. After that, he's going to go for another Dig, because why the heck wouldn't he? And after he hits us, we can go for an Absorb, grabbing the KO on Dignix, defeating Brock. On Route 3, we're going to grab ourselves a Dratini, and this dude sells us a Kakuna. We run into Nurse Joy, who's tending to this wounded Geodude. When out of nowhere, upon the back of his Dignix comes Brock rushing in for assistance. He then removes his shirt, showing that his Pokemon aren't the only thing that's rock hard around here. And after rubbing the Geodude across his chest, he polishes it to a miraculous sheen. One so miraculous that Nurse Joy needs to leave because it got really hot in here. But wait, we're outside! And in Mount Moon, we're going to grab ourselves a Wimpod. And while fighting our way through Mount Moon, our Pokemon are going to start evolving. First is going to be Littlefoot into a Shanleaf, and then Delta is going to evolve as well, transforming into Litvile. At the back of Mount Moon, we find Team Rocket, and we don't know what they're doing, but it's probably evil, because Team Rocket. After placing the 3 rocket starters on the machine, Giovanni commands that the grunt press the button, and when she does, the entire machine explodes, resulting in the 3 rocket starters fusing together into some kind of weird triple goo Pokemon. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Grimer are born. But since Grimer is already a Pokemon and not a super strong triple fusion, Giovanni and Team Rocket decide to leave. And they didn't even clean up their machinery. The monsters. And we grab Lord Helix on our way out. On Route 4, we're going to grab ourselves a Marill. Desperately needing to add somebody else to the party, we are going to fuse Shieldon up with Shinx and get ourselves this adorable little Shadon. And this thing is going to evolve right away into Ladon. We run into Rando over on Nugget Bridge, where we see him sneak a very suspicious-looking can of Barbasol into his coat pocket. He says he needs to get over to Bill's lab as quickly as possible because he's got something special that he's cooked up for the scientist. And just what the heck are the two of you planning, Ron Rando? Yodo comes in first and we send in Sarah. I didn't even anticipate that this thing has double kick and it gets us down to half, and then I get him down way into the red. Rando is then going to heal up with a super potion, getting back up to full, and we can go for another spark, getting him down into the red once again. For some reason he's going to go for a peck this time, which means one more spark takes down the Nidodo. Next out counts Mantata, sporting a awesome new sprite, and we're going to swap out into Delta, which means that we can avoid the Karate Chop as I go for a Will-O-Wisp and he goes for a Pursuit. So thank goodness I cut his attack as I then go for a Mega Drain, getting him down pretty low as he goes for another Pursuit. And with one more Mega Drain, we can take down the Mantata. This is going to lead into Mudbuskin. And this thing is no longer fire, so we can go for a Mega Drain, doing about 50% as he goes for a Water Gun. And after that, he's going to go for a Bind, and we can go for another Mega Drain, bringing him way down into the red. And with one more Mega Drain, we take down this chicken, which is going to lead into just a regular Abra. So we're going to go for a Mega Drain once again, and with one more, take down the Abra, defeating Rando, and show me what's inside that pocket, good sir. Over on Route 24, we're going to get a 2-for-1 with a Pharaoh Raid. After we make our way across Route 24 and 25, we enter Bill's lab, demanding to know what was inside that Barbasol can. But when we startle Bill, he accidentally fuses up with a Rhydon, and I didn't even know a person could fuse with a Pokemon. Apparently, inside of that can of Barbasol was a bunch of Dino DNA. And together, Bill and Rando were going to genetically engineer the perfect dinosaur Pokemon, and then fuse them with humans. And while that sounds pretty cool actually, it sounds super unethical. And now that Bill's been transformed into a Pokemon, he sees the error of his ways. So we help him reverse the fusion, ditching the Rhydon and earning ourselves some boat tickets. But where did the Rhydon go? And now it's time for us to take on Misty and her water types. Jigglypuff comes in first, and we're going to send in Sarah, getting the Intimidate off. We're then going to go for a Spark, doing about 60%, and it's going to try to go for a Sing, which fortunately it doesn't get off as she swaps into Audio. And doing about 50%, we also get the Paralysis off, which is great as it gets down way into the red, and it can't move. And after going for 2 more Sparks, it's back down into the red as a Water Pulse does nearly half, but we can take it out. And with Jigglypuff back in, 1 more Spark takes it down as well, and we defeat Misty. On Route 5, we're going to grab ourselves a Klinko. On Route 6, we're going to grab a Shelder. In Diglett's Cave, we find ourselves a Hoot Hoot. And on 11, we find ourselves a Slackoth. We run into Rando over on the SSN. And I guess we're not the only ones that Bill gave boat tickets to get to this fancy party. It turns out that he's managed to collect 40 different types of DNA from 40 different ancient Pokemon. And even if Bill's backing out of the deal, he knows a crazy guy on Cinnabar Island that might back up his plans anyways. Nidodo comes out first, and we send in Sarah, getting the Intimidate off. It's going to go for a Focus Energy, and we can go for a Spark, scoring ourselves the Oko, which leads into Marsh Buskin, who is hilarious. Anywho, we're going to go for a Spark, getting him down into the red, and then 1 more taking him out. This is going to lead into Manecate. And assuming a fighting move, we're going to swap out, sending in Delta as he tries to go for a Seismic Toss. Now going for a Will-O-Wisp, he's going to go for a Pursuit, doing a decent amount of damage to us. We can follow up with a Mega Drain, doing about half, getting ourselves healed back up as he goes for a Swagger. Then we're going to swap out, and he's going to call it, going for a Pursuit, and we send in Littlefoot as the burn goes off. And assuming a fighting move, we're going to swap out into Delta, where Rando's going to heal up with a Super Potion, and we can go for another Mega Drain. Now going for a second one, we bring him way down into the red as he goes for another Pursuit, and ultimately gets taken out by the burn. Starbrook comes in as his final Pokemon, where once again we can go for a Mega Drain, bringing him way down into the red as he goes for a Psywave, doing a random amount of damage. And with that, we take down Rando's final Pokemon, and we defeat him. And now it's time for us to take on Lieutenant Surge and his electric Pokemon. Voltbeak comes in first, and we send in Littlefoot. I'm going to go for a Magical Leaf, doing quite a bit of damage as a Metal Claw comes in, doing a bit to us, and then Surge is going to heal up. Then we can go for 1 more Magical Leaf, score a crit, take it down, leading into Pikalet, who hits us with a Quick Attack, and we can go for another Magical Leaf, taking it down, which leads into Rybuzz, who's going to set up a double team, but joke's on you, Magical Leaf. But it does, like, literally no damage because I'm a Bayleaf. Anywho, after that, he's going to go for a Quick Attack, and we're just going to keep on throwing leaves at this thing as he gets healed up. Then unfortunately we're going to get paralyzed by a Thunder Punch before Lieutenant Surge uses his second potion. Another Thunder Punch is going to get us down just below half, but our berry will heal us up, and then I'm going to go for a Soft Boil just for funsies. From here, another quick attack comes in, and I'm just going to keep on spamming these leaves until hopefully this Rybus goes down before we do. And fortunately, it does, so we defeat Surge. And now it's going to be time for us to get just like a bunch of encounters while we're on our way over to Lavender Town. On 9, we're going to grab ourselves a Misras. On 10, we're going to grab a Gumi. In the power plant, a Ghastly. In Rock Tunnel, we're going to grab a Smearkip. Sarah is then going to start evolving. First up, into Luxdon. And then one more time into its final glorious form of Luxdon. Next, over on 8, we're going to grab a Marini. On 7, a Poliwag. Next, in the game corner, a Golduck. And finally, on 16, a Photic. Wanting to get another member on our team, we are going to fuse up Rampardos with Vigoroth and get ourselves Vigoparados. Littlefoot is also going to evolve, transforming... Oh, that's surprising. We head over to Pokemon Tower where we find Rando. And it is a uncomfortable sight. Rando seems to be attempting to siphon the DNA from the Pokemon that have been laid to rest here, and that is incredibly disrespectful. So for that, we must battle. Nidodo comes down and we're going to send in Rami. After missing a Rock Tomb, he's going to go for a Chip Away, hitting us for just a bit of damage, as then we connect, grabbing the KO. Next out is going to come Marsh Buskin. And we're going to swap Rami out and then send in Delta as it goes for a Mud Bomb. We're then going to connect with a Mega Drain, doing about 60%, healing ourselves out as it goes for a Foresight. Then he's going to go ahead and use a Super Potion of his own before using a second one. And after we miss our Mega Drain, we connect with another one, getting him back down pretty low as he then goes for a Mud Slap. And apparently all this thing is good for is throwing mud in our face, and, well, now it's dead. Next out comes Gyarados. And we're going to swap out Delta and instead set in Sarah. After going for a Bite and then a second one, we can go for a Quad Effective Spark, grabbing ourselves the KO, which is going to lead into Starbra, who's going to hit us with a Bubble Beam, and we can fire back with the Spark, picking up the KO, defeating Rando. After the battle is over, Rando apologizes. He is trying to get enough Dino DNA to convince Blaine, the gym leader over on Cinnabar Island, to help him create the ultimate dinosaur Pokemon, because he hears that he's made a couple Pokemon in the past. And that's when we hear a loud crash and screaming on the other side of the room. Together we go to investigate it to see that the renowned scientist, Professor Fuji, is being interrogated by Team Rocket. And before we have a chance to intervene, they drag him up the stairs, locking the door. Rando then says that he heard that Team Rocket has a secret base hidden underneath Celadon City, and why the heck do you know that? But anyways, I guess we need to head over to their secret base to get the spare key so that way we can save Mr. Fuji. And rushing over to Celadon City, we meet back up with Rando, who's just chased off a couple of Rocket grunts. Rando lets us know that he has successfully located the location of Team Rocket's secret base. It's exactly where those two guys ran off to. But he's not about to walk through the icky sewer with his really nice shoes on, so he's gonna go buy some galoshes, and he'll meet up with us back here. And he makes us promise not to go ahead of him, because he wants to get a little bit of the credit. But I think I'm gonna head inside and take all the credit. After fighting our way to the back of Team Rocket's secret base, we find Giovanni, who's apparently already defeated Erica in a Pokemon battle. And since we didn't wait for Rando, I guess it's gonna be up to us to stop Team Rocket and eject them from Celadon. He starts off with Arnix, and we're gonna send in Littlefoot. I'm gonna go for a Minimize right away, hoping that I'm not gonna get hit by an Acid Spray here as he goes for a Stockpile. Now going for a second Minimize, he goes for a Spit Up, doing a bit of damage to us. And now going for a third Minimize, he's going to start going for Stockpiles again. Now going for a Magical Leaf, we do, like, nothing as he continues to go for Stockpiles, and I'm not sure why he hasn't used Acid Spray. And I say that, and then he tried to do it to me, but he missed. And now going for some more Magical Leafs, we're going to get him down into the red until he decides to swallow, healing himself back up. Giovanni is then going to use a Max Potion, healing himself back up to full yet again, and I'm just going to keep on throwing leaves at this thing as he continues to miss me with Acid Sprays, but he can't miss swallowing. So we're just kind of in a holding pattern here as I continue to go ahead. throwing leaves at this thing until he's now way into the red, and he goes for another swallow to heal up a little bit. And now that he's super low, we can finally take it down. Once Ryros comes in, I'm going to go for another magical leaf, doing just about half as he manages to connect with a rock blast. Giovanni then swaps out, sending in Hotcon, and I'm going to go for another magical leaf. After he tries to hit me with a payback, I'm going to go for a Smoochie Kiss to get a little bit of healing in there as he then tries to go for a Sucker Punch. But fortunately at +6, he keeps on missing as I continue to throw leaves at this dude until he manages to connect with a Confused Ray, but we do break through, which is super cool. And we snap out of it, smooch him, and send him down his way. Ryros is going to come back in as his final Pokemon, and going for another magical leaf, we're going to get him down super low, where one more takes him down. And with that, we defeat Giovanni, which is going to eject him and the rest of Team Rocket from Celadon City. And now it's time for us to take on Erica and her grass Pokemon. She starts off with Execuduo, and I absolutely love this new sprite. Anywho, we go for a Flamethrower and take out the Eggbird, which is going to lead into Tanape. After he tries to go for his Sleep Powder, we're going to get him down way into the red before Erica heals up with a Hyper Potion. We roll higher, we KO. And when Vileplume comes in as our final Pokemon, we're going to get it down pretty low, activating our Citrus Berry as he starts using a Solar Beam. But with one more Flamethrower, we take it down, defeating Erica. After fighting our way to the top of Pokemon Tower, we find Mr. Fuji, the creator of the Master Ball. Apparently Team Rocket's already gotten what they wanted, information. Mr. Fuji asks us why it took us so long to come and rescue him even though we saw him being taken away. And I let him know that after I defeated Team Rocket, I decided to stop and get a badge. And for that, he gives us a flute and dares us to play it for a sleeping bear. On our way over to Fuchsia City, we're going to grab a couple of Pokemon first, a Drowsy, then a 2-for-1 with a Veniferno, a Murkrow, and a Swirlix over in the Safari Zone. Needing to fill up the rest of our team, we're going to start off by fusing Swampert and Feraligatr to get this ferocious Therapert. Next up, Delta is going to evolve, becoming Litile. Rami is then going to evolve as well, transforming into its final form of Slapratos. And now it's time for us to take on Koga and his poison Pokemon. Venomer comes in first, and we're sitting in Delta. We're going to go for a Flamethrower, getting this thing down way into the red as it throws its Poison Barb at me, unfortunately poisoning us. After that, Koga's going to heal up with a Hyper Potion, and we can go for another Flamethrower, getting it down into the red again. From here, I'm going to swap out Delta and instead send in Toka as it goes for a Signal Beam. And we can go for one more Crunch, grabbing the KO. Magnific comes out next. And I'm going to go for a Crunch, doing about 50% as it goes for a Sludge Bomb, unfortunately poisoning us. And with one more Crunch, we can successfully take it down, but the poison is going to tick, activating our Berry, which leads into Beether, who's going to go for a Poison Jab, doing basically nothing, and we can go for a Rock Slide, grabbing the KO, which leads into Chinook. Assuming a takedown, we're going to swap out, sending Delta back in, as it does indeed go for a takedown. We're then going to go for a Will-O-Wisp, because honestly I kind of have to, as it goes for an Acid Armor. We're now going to swap out, sending in Sarah, getting the Intimidate off as this thing goes for a double team now. At this point, we're just going to kind of go back and forth with it, going for takedowns, and me trying to go for Sparks as it continues to boost up its stats, because ultimately I'm just going to need the burn to take this monster down. And after we go back and forth for like 15 rounds, eventually the burn takes this thing out and we defeat Koga. While fighting our way through Silph Co, Delta is going to evolve again into a Lamp Tile. And Littlefoot is going to evolve as well, ascending to her final glorious form of Blisnium. And for saving everybody in Silph Co, we are gifted a Blaziken. And after fighting our way through Silph Co, we run into Rando yet again. Apparently, when Team Rocket took over Saffron City and the entirety of Silph Co, Rando used this opportunity to collect hundreds of DNA samples from every prehistoric Pokemon known to man. And this is where he unveils his grand plan he's going to pitch to Blaine, a theme park where you can hang out with ancient untamed Pokemon. Rando starts off with Nita Giot and we send in Sarah. It goes through a Thrash, doing barely nothing, and then I remember that this thing is poison and not ground. So as it continues thrashing about, it eventually gets confused and we can go for a Spark, doing about a third. After it smacks itself in the face, we go for another Spark, getting it down super duper low. And after it slaps itself one more time, it goes down. Next out comes his Tauros. And after it goes for a payback, we're gonna go for a Metal Burst, doing a lot less than I thought. So assuming another normal move, we're gonna swap out, setting in Delta as it goes for a workup. It then goes for a Zen Headbutt, doing just over half, and we're gonna go for a Will-O-Wisp. After it goes for another Zen Headbutt, we're gonna go for a Mega Drain, getting it down just below half. And it then goes for a payback, getting us down pretty low, and one more Mega Drain combination with the burn takes it out, which leads into Starbra. So we're gonna swap Delta out and then send Sarah in, getting the Intimidate off because we know how intimidating Abras, Kadabras, and Alakazams are. And now that we're confused, we're gonna go for a Crunch, but instead punch ourselves in the face as it then goes for a Reflect type, and then we punch ourselves yet again. And now going for a Psychic, it does a lot less because it's not Stab anymore, and we snap out of it going for a Crunch that does 50% before we get confused again. But we break through, getting this thing down super low, and one more time for the KO. Which leads into Marsh Buskin, who's gonna go for a Takedown, doing basically nothing. And we can go for a Spark, doing about 60%. After that, it goes for a Protect. We snap out of our confusion, but manage to do nothing to it. But on the following turn, it goes down, which means Electados, his final Pokemon, has arrived. It goes for a Mighty Thunder Punch, doing basically nothing, and we go for a Toxic, doing basically something. After that, it goes for a Discharge, and then we go for a Metal Burst, doing a bit of damage. After that, another Thunder Punch brings us down to just 50 HP as we go for another Crunch. And one more Thunder Punch gets us down into the red, but one more Crunch KOs the Electados, defeating Rando. And now that he's collected all the samples he needs, he agrees to help us drive Team Rocket out of the building. We bust into the Silph President's office where we find Giovanni berating Mr. President. Apparently there's not enough Master Balls. He needs 3, but there's only 2. Where's the 3rd ball, Silph Man? Giovanni starts off with Primarino and Rairos, and we're gonna send Nita Giat and Rami. And predicting at least one fighting move, we're gonna swap out into Delta, and we can avoid a close combat, but we do get hit by a Drill Run. On the following turn, we go for a Mega Drain, getting the Rairos down to about half, and Nita Giat goes for an Earth Power, getting Primarino down pretty low. And then this thing just has to go for a Thrash for reasons I can't possibly comprehend. We get the Rairos down way into the red as another Thrash takes down Primarino. After that, a Stone Edge is going to finish off Nita Giat, and Genkan and Tauros are going to come in. Giovanni is then going to use a Max Potion on the Rairos as the Tauros decides to go for a workup. Genkan goes for a Shadow Ball, which is going to absolutely annihilate my starter, and we were so close to evolving. So we're going to send in Toka. Tauros is going to go for a Zen Headbutt on Genkan, flinching it, and we can follow up with a Crunch, bringing it way down to the red. Rairos is then going to go for a Rock Blast on Tauros, which is going to do not a lot of damage because, well, it's a Lapras. After that, the Tauros is going to go for a Payback on Genkan, taking it down successfully. We can then go for a Crunch on the Rairos, doing a bit of damage, as the Rairos then goes for a Takedown on Tauros, doing some chip damage. Sand Queen comes out next. Tauros goes for a Payback on Rairos, and Sand Queen decides to go for a Dig. And we try to go for an Ice Fang, which obviously doesn't do anything, and Rairos misses with a Stone Edge. Tauros tries to go for a Zen Headbutt, but it misses as a Dig comes in on Tauros, doing a decent amount of damage. We can then go for a Surf, taking Tauros down, unfortunately, but we got Giovanni's Pokemon down pretty low. After that, the Rairos connects with a Stone Edge on us, but it's not going to do a whole lot of damage as Marsh Buskin comes in next. Sand Queen is then going to kick up a Sandstorm, which is fine for me because that'll raise my special defense as well, but it also raises Giovanni's entire team. But it's not enough to save Rairos, and now Sand Queen is down wicked low. Marsh Buskin then goes for a takedown on the Sand Queen, taking it out, and we've successfully defeated Giovanni. But we've lost our first Pokemon of the run. And now it's time for us to take on Sabrina and her Psychic Pokemon. Hitfime comes in first, who's a really cool dude, and we're going to send in Rami. This thing's going to go for a Nasty Plot on the first turn, and we can go for a Headbutt, scoring a crit, and the Oko, which leads into a Labro. Now, assuming a Water move, we are going to swap Rami out, and then instead send in a Littlefoot as it goes for a Psycho Cut. It goes for another Psycho Cut, and we're going to go for a Magical Leaf, getting it down way into the red. Knowing Sabrina's going to heal up, I'm going to go for a Minimize on the following turn, and then as it goes for a Surf connecting, we can go for a Magical Leaf, again getting it down quite low. Labro then uses Recover, and we're going to go for a Soft Boiled. After that, it uses another Recover, and we can go for a second Minimize, getting to +4, and then now to +6. And now that we're maxed out, we're going to go for another Magical Leaf, doing about 40% damage as she swaps out, sending an Espeon. And I've always loved the sprite. It's going to go for a Moonlight to heal itself up, and we can go for a Toxic, but unfortunately Synchronize exists. But you know what also exists? Natural Cure, so we're going to swap out, sending in Sarah, getting the Intimidate off as this thing goes for a Moonlight. After that, it goes for a Dark Pulse, doing honestly quite a bit of damage to us. And as it goes for a Moonlight to heal back up to full, I try to go for a Metal Burst, but it doesn't do anything because Metal Burst. It then sets up a Light Screen, but luckily for me, I'm not good at attacking literally anything, as Sabrina then uses a Max Potion. But now that the Toxic is at full power, she's going to swap out, sending a Labro back in as we go for a Spark, taking it down. Which leads back into Espeon, who's going to go for another Dark Pulse, but we can go for a Spark, getting it down wicked low. You've got to be kidding me. And after it goes for one more Dark Pulse, it's going to activate our Berry, and we can finish it off with a Metal Burst. Her final Pokemon, Genkazam, comes in. And it's going to go for a Shadow Ball, getting me down to 14. But luckily, a Crunch KOs this thing, and we defeat Sabrina. On Route 21, we're going to get a 2-for-1 with Pucape. Look at this thing. Next up, Absol's been randomized into Absol. In Pokemon Mansion, we're going to grab a Pawniard. Needing to fill up some slots in our team, we are going to fuse Tyrantrum up with Blaziken to get ourselves Blatrum. And then to finally have a full team, we're going to fuse Aerodactyl up with Togekiss to get ourselves Togadactyl. And now it's time for us to take on Blaine and his fire guys. Blue Dash comes in first, and we're going to send in Goodman. We're going to go for a Head Smash where we can grab ourselves the Oko, which is going to lead into Magdon. And we can outspeed going for an Earthquake doing the same. Charodactyl comes in third, and I don't know why the game doesn't use a better sprite, but whatever, it's gone in one shot as well, which means 9-9 is his only remaining Pokemon. And when we go for an Earthquake, we can bring it down way into the red. After that, he's going to heal up with his first full restore, but we can take him down with another Head Smash, defeating Blaine. On the Offshore Road, we're going to get ourselves a 2-for-1 with Quimega. On the Kindle Road, we're going to grab a Growlithe. After heading over to Mount Ember, because we hear it's nice this time of year, especially for dinosaurs, we find that Giovanni and the rest of Team Rocket is already here. And apparently, Giovanni has managed to capture all 3 Cantonian legendary birds. But not only that, he's managed to perfect his triple fusion machine, which is now the size of a standard DNA splicer. That's progress, everybody. And as we approach, we hear Giovanni declare, "Fuse the 3 legendary birds." Giovanni plans on calling this brand new triple fused bird Super Bird. But Giovanni, that name is stupid. You should probably call it Zapmolcuno. And after hearing this, Giovanni says that he's come up with the perfect name, Zapmolcuno. And with it, he plans on taking over the entire Kanto region. No, not just Kanto, the entire Pokemon world. And nobody can stop him. Not even us, a small child with dinosaurs. Giovanni sends in Zapmolcuno, and we send in Goodman. Going for a Head Smash on Articuno, we're going to get it down super low as it goes for an Ice Beam Flamethrower combo, which is going to bring me down just below half, and then a Thunderbolt does what it does. We're then going to go for another Head Smash, taking care of the Articuno head, as Moltres sets up a safeguard, and a Thunderbolt gets us down to 24 HP. So I guess I'll swap out, and we're going to send in Toka, as a Flamethrower does barely anything to us, and obviously we can't get hit by a Thunderbolt. After that, we're going to go for a Rock Slide, which they're packing berries for to avoid most of the damage, and then the Moltres is going to go ahead and set up a Tailwind, then Zapdos uses Light Screen. A Flamethrower does a bit of damage to us, and then a Drill Peck gets me down to just 37 HP, and we're going to go for another Rock Slide, getting Zapdos down just below half and missing Moltres altogether. So I guess we're going to swap again, this time sending in Sarah, getting the Intimidate off on their side of the field, as a Flamethrower comes in, getting me down wicked low because I'm stupid, and a Drill Peck does barely anything. So let's swap again, this time sending in Remy, getting the Mold Breaker off, as a Flamethrower does what it does, and a Thunderbolt gets me down pretty low. We're going to go for a Stab Headbutt, getting this thing down wicked low, and unfortunately Remy is going to get taken down. But out comes Petrie. And we're going to outspeed, taking care of Zapdos with only Moltres remaining. It's going to set up a Tailwind, and it outspeeds us, going for a Flamethrower, and we can go for an Air Slash, doing a bit of damage. Another Flamethrower is going to activate our Citrus Berry, and we can get the Moltres down into the red. And with one more Flamethrower, one more Air Slash takes down Moltres, and we win. But unfortunately, we lost another Pokemon. But with the three birds defused, they return to where they're supposed to be, and Giovanni leaves, dejected and defeated. And Moltres has been randomized into Entei. Alright, cool beans. And in some kind of sick joke, Zapdos has been randomized into Moltres. And now it's time for us to take on Giovanni and his ground Pokemon. Ryros comes in first, and we send in Toka. And going for a Stab Surf, we do about 60% as he kicks up a Sandstorm. Which, joke's on you, buddy, I definitely need this boost as we decide to go for a Crunch. After that, I'm going to go for another Surf, getting this thing down way into the red, and he goes for a Surf of his own. After that, he's going to use his second Full Restore, and we can go for another Surf, before one more grabs the KO. Next out comes Glystar, who's going to go for a Poison Jab, doing basically nothing, and we can go for a Surf, doing 60%. After another Poison Jab, one more Surf takes out the Glystar, which leads into Gochamp, who we can outspeed, go for a Surf, get it down pretty low as he sets up a Scary Face. I'm already super slow, so it doesn't really accomplish anything, but the Dynamic Punch does confuse us, but we can break through with a Surf, KOing Gochamp, which is going to lead into Rylax. And I'm going to swap Toka out, sending in Sarah to get the Intimidate off on this thing as he goes for an Earthquake, which absolutely tears through me. So here comes Littlefoot. And after mixing a Toxic and getting Earthquake, we're going to try to do that again, and we manage to connect this time as he somehow hits us with a Horn Drill. So here comes Toka again, and we can go for a Surf, getting him down pretty low as he tries to go for another freaking Horn Drill. And after healing up, we can go for a Surf, getting him down to about 60%. And then from here, we can go for a Stab Earthquake, and we don't even get the KO as I am now knocked down to just 35 HP before we grab the KO, which leads into Electario. And with a Bulldoze, Toka goes down, so I guess I'll send in Goodman. And after setting up a Light Screen, I can go for an Earthquake, grab the KO, and we are heading to the Pokemon League, but we're in trouble. On Victory Road, we're going to grab a Sneasel. And on Victory Road, Entei's been randomized into Suicune. For our first final fusion, we are going to fuse up Bisharp with Aurorus, and while this isn't technically a dinosaur anymore, it can be like the Blue Ranger or something. How could I not use this thing? And for our final pair is going to be Lapras with Moltres, and check out Lapras. And now that we've made it to the Pokemon League with our 4 remaining Pokemon, let's take a look at our team. First up, we have Goodman the Blatrum with Flare Blitz, Crunch, Head Smash, and Earthquake. Petrie the Togadactyl with Air Slash, Aura Sphere, Draining Kiss, and Thunder Wave. And Ranger the Aura Sharp with Iron Head, Night Slash, Slash, and Swords Dance. And now it's time for us to face off against Lorelei and her Ice guys. Lorelei starts off with Magmagrong, who's not even an Ice type, and we're going to send in Larry. It's going to go for a Protect as I try to go for a Surf, and on the following turn we'll go for a Thunderbolt, and we manage to get the Paralysis off. After that, she uses her first Full Restore, and we can go for a Surf, scoring a massive hit and the KO, and I guess it was Ice type. Anyway, my bro comes in next, and we're going to go for another Surf, doing about 60%. On the following turn, we can go for another Surf, KOing my bro. Growth's up next, and I'm going to go for an Air Slash, getting this thing down way into the red as she goes for an Ice Punch, and with that and the Hail, we're almost at 50% as she uses her second Full Restore. And after going for another Air Slash, she's going to swap out and send in Tentacaster. So we go for another Air Slash, doing about 50%, and then follow up with a Thunderbolt for the KO. Growth comes back in just to get knocked out with another Air Slash, and Weaveros comes in as her final Pokemon. And I'm going to swap out and decide to send in Goodman here as she goes for a Night Slash. And we can follow up with a Flare Blitz, grab the KO, and defeat Lorelei. And now it's time for us to take on Bruno and his Fighty Fight Boys. Mavire comes in first, and we send in Petrie. And I'm going to swap out right away and send in Goodman as he goes for a Thunder Punch, which we can resist. And following up with an Earthquake, we score a massive hit as he goes for a Cross Chop, activating our Berry. After that, Bruno uses his first Full Restore, and we can go for another Earthquake, scoring a pretty big hit as he uses his second Full Restore. Now going for another one, we get him way down into the red, where we can finally KO Mavire. Next out comes Marachan. And I know this thing spams counter, so we're going to swap out, sending in Larry as he goes for a Double Team. And after missing with a Surf, he's going to go for another Double Team. And now going for a Dynamic Punch, he does barely any damage, but of course we're confused. But we break through with another Surf, KOing Marochan, which leads into Magnetics. So let's swap out again, sending Goodman back in as he goes for a Zap Cannon. And of course I get paralyzed, but we can go for an Earthquake doing about 60% as he swaps out, sending his Cycross, but we go for a Flare Blitz, KOing. Steechamp comes in, going for an Iron Tail, and unfortunately we're paralyzed. So we're going to swap out, sending Larry back in as he goes for a Submission. And going for an Air Slash, we do about 60% as he decides to go for a Crunch. But fortunately, one more KOs, which leads into his Magnetics again. So we're going to swap out, sending in Ranger as he goes for a Zap Cannon. And after locking on, we are going to be paralyzed, and another Zap Cannon is going to bring us down just below half, and we can go for an Iron Head, and we barely do anything. After that, he goes for a Magnet Rise, and we're paralyzed as another Zap Cannon comes in. And now down to under half, one more Night Slash takes out Magnetics, and we defeat Bruno. First to face off against Agatha and her ghastly ghouls. Ms. Bat comes in, we send in Ranger. It goes for a Confuse Ray on the first turn, and I'm going to go for a Swords Dance, but I don't. I punch myself in the face and then get Wing Attacked, and then punch myself again. After he goes for a Mean Look, we snap out of it, going for a Swords Dance. He's then going to go for a Shadow Ball, getting me down below half, and we can go for a Slash, grabbing the KO. Next out comes Wogar. And we can outspeed, going for a super effective Night Slash, getting him down super low, and fortunately he goes for a Mirror Coat. So when Agatha uses her full restore on the following turn, another Night Slash gets it down wicked low before she uses her second one. And after going for two more, we can take down Wogar, which leads into Gendoom. And since this thing is Ghost Fire, we're going to go for a Night Slash and pick up the Oko, which is going to lead into Umtur. Going for a Stab Iron Head, we can quickly KO it, which leads into Snorgar, who decides to go for a Curse because he's not actually a Ghost type, and we can go for an Iron Head, doing about 40% as we then get him down way into the red. Then we finish things off with a Slash, defeating Agatha. And now it's time for us to take on Lance and his mythical dragon Pokemon. Dragados comes in first, and we send in Ranger. The Dragados goes for an Outrage, and of course it scores a crit. And as we go for a single Swords Dance, we can then take it down with a Glaciated Slash. And then we get Toganite down way into the red, and then he doesn't even bother healing up as we KO it. Typhonair comes in, and we're going to go for another Slash, getting it down to about 60% as we then get Dragon-tailed out. And it's going to send in Larry. Lance is then going to use his first full restore, and I can go for a Surf, doing about 50% as he then heals up for the second time. And now after just two more Surfs, we can safely take down Typhonair, which leads into Anadactyl, who is an absolute menace, and all he does is go for an Agility, and we can go for an Ice Beam, getting him down pretty low as he sets up another Agility for reasons I can't possibly comprehend. But he gets taken down, and Porydra comes in, who is going to unleash a powerful Tri-Attack, doing about a quarter, and then going for another one as we go for an Ice Beam on this turn, KOing Porydra and defeating Lance. As we enter the Champion's Chamber, we find Rando with all of the marketing material that he needs to open up his Jurassic Poke Park. With hundreds of ancient Pokemon on display, it will be the greatest theme park in all of existence. But these ancient Pokemon deserve to roam free, and that's what me and my dinos are here to show Rando. Rando starts off by sending in Nidogear, and we are going to send in Ranger. It's going to go for an Earthquake right away, doing a massive amount of damage to me, and I can go for a Swords Dance. But I need to swap out, like, immediately, so we're going to swap out Ranger and instead send in Larry. He's then going to go for a Double Team, and we miss our Surf, and on the following turn, he's going to go for a Wing Attack, and we manage to connect with an Ice Beam, bringing him down pretty low, and we get the Freeze Off. But then he thaws out on the following turn and then hits us and goes for a Swords Dance. But we break through again, grabbing the KO, leading into Electados. And Electados is honestly kind of a problem for my team, but we're going to swap out Larry and instead send in Goodman as he goes for a Thunder Punch, which we can resist. I'm then going to go for a super effective Head Smash and grab the KO on Electados, which leaves into Swamps again. And I don't really know what to do here, but I'm going to stay in going for an Earthquake just to kind of see what it does, and the answer is not a lot as he tries to go for a Muddy Water, but fortunately he misses. I'm then going to swap Goodman out and then send Larry back in as he goes for a takedown this time, doing a good amount of damage, activating our Berry. I can then go for a Thunderbolt and do about 60%, and then he's going to go for a Muddy Water, hitting us, doing barely anything. On the following turn, Rando heals up with a full restore, and we can go for another Thunderbolt, bringing him way down into the red. And after that, Rando uses his next full restore, and we can go for another Thunderbolt. He then swaps out, sending in Tortor, and we can go for a Thunderbolt, and then follow up with an Air Slash, getting him down pretty low, and fortunately we get the flinch off as he then heals up. And then after getting Rando to use another full restore, we can go for another 2 Air Slashes, getting him down pretty low as he goes for his Zen Headbutt. But one more takes care of it, which leads into Riper Mortar, who we can outspeed and go for a quad effective Surf, taking it out, which leads back into Swamps again. And I forgot about Air Slash, so see you, buddy. And you Starkazam comes in, and it's going to outspeed us, going for a Psychic, bringing Larry down. So let's send in Ranger, I guess. Starkazam is going to go for a Surf, which is going to bring down Ranger as well. So let's see how Petrie fares. I'm going to go for a Thunder Wave because I feel like it's my only solution here, and fortunately it's paralyzed. Now from here, I can hopefully do some para-flinching, and he is flinched thanks to our Serene Grace. And going for another Air Slash, we're going to bring him down to the ready. He breaks through, going for a Psychic, doing about 30%. And with one more Mighty Air Slash, we defeat Starkazam, defeating Rando. And that, everybody, is how I beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Infinite Fusion with only dinosaurs. If you liked the video, you made it this far, and you aren't subscribed, then what's wrong with you? Go ahead and hit that button. You know you want to. And if this isn't your first time here and you think you're already subscribed, you should double check, because there's a good chance you're not, because like 90% of you aren't. We do a hardcore Nuzlocke just about every week, and more often than not, it's Infinite Fusion. So let me know in the comments down below what runs you want to see next, or what games you want to see next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See ya!